Welcome everyone. I have been asked to do this on consumer-sized arrangements, and I thought about it for a little bit this morning, and I thought, consumers still in this country really don't know what to do with flowers. I mean, we're getting there, but basically for those of us that are in this show, we need to make it goof-proof for every consumer out there. So I thought I'd do some very simple things, simply because for the category that we buy for and who we sell in general, it's pretty quick, it's pretty easy, and it's like flowers in a vase, right? I mean, that's pretty much what we do. So I'm going to keep it simple, but what I'd like to do also is talk a little bit about my world. I'm a creative director for Dos Gringos, which is a company in San Diego. I work with other clients. Thank you. And I do a lot of different things, but that's a company that I work with a lot, and my studio and my design school is there as well. So if you ever want to come to San Diego, that's where I'm at. I think the most important thing we need to teach people is it's okay to cut flowers short. A lot of people, and I'm generalizing because that's what we do in marketing, but a lot of people take the flowers the way they come, and God forbid they have scissors, right? That's if you're lucky. But it's very important that you cut the flowers on a sharp angle. We all know it. But I go to supermarkets and I see people from the bakery department, no offense, but it's reality, right? And they're standing there and they're, this isn't working. And, it's like, no, this is not working. The butcher doesn't use this either. But anyway, so what we're going to do is take this and I'm going to cut it really short and put it in a really nice upscale glass container. And I love what the supermarket industry has done to containers in the United States. I mean, basically any container is available now to the masses, besides IKEA and all these other guys. But a traditional retailer now has these kind of glasses, and it really upscales the experience. I love to put the insert, which I don't know what I did with it, but I very often will take an insert in a glass container and actually set this in the container. You can do it with, this is just a Temkin insert, just the basics, but you can actually put this in the container. I can't get my hand out. This is nice. Let's leave that out because I don't want to do this again. The most important thing is to cut it really short. Now, if you cut flowers short, take a sunflower, you have a weight problem, right? Because the balance is there. You do not want to cut this like a regular flower arrangement and go half the size. I mean, that would look ridiculous, right? The good thing is if you have two and you put one on one side and one on the other side, you can cancel cable. Anyway, the idea, of course, is that we have mass, right? We have filler. And I've got some dill here, that's filler. I love things that are herbaceous. I love herbs because scent is a very big part of what we do. We talked about touch, we talked about color, but people love the smell of flowers. And it's just a nature thing. So I have a little bit of dill in there that gives it that French country look. Some grasses, and I'm from Holland. I tried this, you can smoke it. I love looking at you guys. It's like, oh my God, I can't believe what you just said. This is not Qualcomm, this is flower business, right? So here's a relatively new flower that I put some wire in. This is a double sunflower. It's called Green Splash. And it looks kind of like a teddy bear sunflower. For those of you that are familiar with the normal sunbeam, we do about 30 million stems of these a year. This is a goof-proof flower. It's bacteria resistant. It's an incredible flower, great value. And then just variations on a theme. So the green sun splash for people who like texture. It's very French country, wouldn't you say? It's kind of a Van Gogh flower. I did a presentation once and I said Van Gogh and it didn't register. And I said, he's a painter. So with that, you can then take other fillers. You can take one that I love. This is a product that we grow a lot of in California. This is called Buplurum, and I think this is a great material. The only thing you have to remember with this is that you have to cut all the foliage off. You have to strip this. So I'm probably the only designer here that travels with a stripper. Man, we're warming up here. This is like, this is Miami. Everybody has a stripper in their hotel room. No, I'm kidding. So this is the stripper I travel with. And this works really well on roses and other things. But with this, it's just get the foliage out of the water. The biggest mistake we make is to have foliage underwater. It creates bacteria levels and flowers are dying, right? It's just You're only as strong as the weakest link. So what I tell people, and I do a lot of consumer groups presentations, I tell people, don't be afraid to cut them short. In other words, you don't have to use the bouquet the way you bought it. You just take the flowers and cut them really short. And they may not know how to make a hand-tied bouquet, which is why I have a book under that title. But the idea is to just tell people to put the bouquet in one hand and just make a little bundle of flowers, right? Very, very simple. And this is a very easy thing to do. I didn't prep anything on purpose. You can see what filler does to a single flower. By the way, Kim Morrill, who is here, she did a presentation once on product blend. And I thought, you know, that's really what it's all about. It's product blend. It's not just the flower. It's how we merchandise it, how we put it together, and more importantly, what to leave out. Because sometimes you see bouquets that have the whole kitchen sink in it. I think some growers need to just clean the cooler and there's the bouquet, you know, the fleur du jour bouquet where the whole kitchen sink is in there. And I understand that we sometimes have to clean our refrigerators, but the idea is that if you have the right product blend, the product sells itself. It's a likable color combination. Now, that's very subjective. There are people in this part of the world who think the more colorful it is, the more value there is. If you were here in Miami, I wouldn't make monochromatic bouquets in all white. I don't think a lot of them would sell. So this is a little hand-tied bouquet, but you can see that that changes the experience because it makes it comfortable to look at. You know, it's just a very easy thing to look at. To me, if a flower is easy to look at, people will put it in their home more often. I love sticks, I love twigs, I like all those things, but they have to be pleasing to the eye. And let's face it, most Americans are intimidated by flowers. So if we take that intimidation factor out, then we are somewhere. So very, very simple. And now for those of you that are designers, which there's quite a few of in the audience, judge and I shall be judged. The idea, of course, is that I lost my train of thought. I swear there's something in vodka that the next day you don't remember anything, you know? It's a real problem. So I cut this really short. Now, I'm a knife guy. You know, I was trained in Holland and we cut flowers on an angle before we put them anywhere. Unless you have a really sharp pair of pruners, I use a knife on everything. It's a clean cut, you have no bacteria buildup, it's really, really important. But I'm gonna tie this together, but instead of using the twine that I stole from Else, I'm gonna use this bark wire. Several companies now sell this, it's been around for a while. So for the artistic people in the audience, it's form and function, right? Form and function meaning that I'm using this to tie it together, but it's also going to look really cool underwater. So it's not just about tying it together, it's also because it looks kind of cool, so I don't have to hide it. Very, very easy to do. So this is not, this is very, very simple. I have to cut a few here. And so when that's in there, it's actually pleasant to look at. You can put a tea leaf in there, you can do all kinds of things, but, oh, you're clapping? Oh. 7 out of 100, that's good. That's like this show, that's great. You want the book, yeah. No, the one thing that I also wanted to share is that we all know that many of the floral departments in the supermarket are cutting labor, right? I mean, that's a big thing. So you can teach these people, people at the floral department, floral merchandisers for whatever reason, whatever you want to call them, but they don't really have time to make anything. So one of the bouquets that I work at Dos Gringos is actually a pre-made topiary. So I've got this little French pot from China. This is a great color. This is that patina French country look, right? These used to be very expensive. Now they're available to the masses. You can put a plant in it, but I'm going to put flowers in it. Now I put some floral foam in here. So this is very, very simple. I'm going to just take some sunflowers and we'll take these. It's a little short, but it will get you the idea. So all I'm going to do here is I'm going to make one of these little topiaries. This is very, very simple, and it's pre-made. So all I'm going to do is strip this, Oh, I should have used my stripper. My stripper's in my hotel room. I love myrtle. Myrtle is fantastic. It's very long lasting, has a great scent, and now this is what we call bouquet myrtle, and I know I'm totally ADD here, but myrtle normally comes in one stem. For those of you that have been in the business for a long time, the company that we work with for our bouquet myrtle tips them so that, as you can see, it's now bushy. So you put that in a bouquet, you've got a lot of bang for your buck. It's almost like a filler foliage, if you will, right? So now my job is to find a skinnier one, and I'm going to just set that in the middle. This is what's called a parallel system bouquet. I'm not going to spiral it because Else knows how to do that and she teaches that. I'm going to just set them parallel. Very simple. This is a very easy technique, right? Take another piece of bupleurum, like there. So we have this. This is just standing there. And I'm going to take one here, like so, a little lower. There it is. Take one over here, like this. Sometimes sunflowers are a little too big, you know. We ship this to Texas mostly, seriously. I'm not kidding you. They like things big, and they do. It's really hard to make a bouquet with that big a sunflower, but it's a great impression. You know, it's a pretty cool thing. So, there is that. I'm so nervous. Are any of you going to AIFD in San Francisco in 2 weeks? Oh, there's the creative crowd. Wonderful. Well, I'll see you there. When we're done with this, I'm going home to prepare my program for that. So there's the topiary. Make sure it's all in one spot, right? There it is. Then you take your bind wire. Topiary, some people, you know, I say topiary. There are people in the world that don't know what that is. They have no idea. They think it's Mickey Mouse out of Ivy or something, you know. So, which is topiary, but not all topiary. I always tell people, fire engines are red, but not every red engine is a fire engine. So cut that. There. That goes here. There. You ready? So this is not for shy people, right? You know how some people are like, I'm designing flowers. And I go, honey, just stick it in. You know, just. There. So there's your topiary. Then add a little bit of greenery. And since I'm winging this, I'm going to put some of these wonderful little monkey balls in here. Asclepias. This is not a mass market item, but this is from Holex. Holex is the big Dutch company that is on the other side. So I'm just going to put some in there just to kind of dress it up because I don't have sheet moss or anything else. This is also known as milkweed. So when you cut it, it drips a sap all over your hands. So you have to work with it quickly. Is this amazing or what? It's really cool. This is a botanical. To me, this is not a bouquet item because the value isn't at the top, right? It's all bottom section. And it's amazing. They come in two. Oh, you are warming up. Good. I'm almost done, so you're there. So this is the most important thing of our business, right? You take a sunflower, or any flower for that matter, and you cut it on an angle. This is what makes a flower drink water. The minute you start cutting it, and I've been doing this for a while, people do this. You can actually hear the stems squashing, right? So once you squash the stems, A, B, C, D. When you squash the stems, it actually doesn't take any water, right? You're actually, I'm not cutting, I'm just squeezing the stem together. So the most important thing is to just give it a sharp cut, and that will go anywhere. So Just going to add that there. Put one in there. So I have, what, 9, 10 sunflowers here, and that's the look. So it's a very cool little topiary approach. Let's do something with line. Most people in the mass market are scared of line, right? Scared of line is because it's not easy to merchandise, right? I mean, you don't put this in your shopping cart. Well, you can, but it's hard. So we're going to do something with curly willow, right? Curly willow. I'm just going to make a little hand-tied bouquet. Very simple. I love buying stuff for people who, if there's no shrink, they love you as a buyer, right? This, I mean, yeah, you can buy 10 bunches of it, 20 bunches, 30 bunches. It sits there. If you cut it and put it in water, it sprouts. It's not like you throw it away. So it's great for the store because it makes it look good, and you have time to sell it. It's not like zinnias or something like that. Or a lot of other flowers that you just get them in, get them out, which is, you know, a lot of stress. So this stripper really works. There's several people that sell it, so I'm going to use this. Dun, dun. So I'm just doing this in advance. The number one thing I teach everybody that comes to my classes, get the foliage out of the water. You can go to stores, some of the best stores in the country, and they have designers and they're so busy, and this is underwater. You're doing the customer a disservice because it will not last. It's not going to work. So that's really important. And if we want Americans to buy flowers more often, that's what we need to pay attention to. So I'm just going to use some creative flowers. So remember product blend? I was talking about product blend, right? So liatris, which is line flower, right? So I'm using line with line. Now, I live in San Diego, and our company is a little north of San Diego, but I see these bouquets, and I'm sure you've seen them. They're literally cleaning their refrigerator, and it's a round bouquet, and there's a gladioli sticking out of it. It's like, what are you on? You know, it just doesn't make any sense. And they think it's pretty, so guess who wins? They paid for it. So here's the liatris, and taking some of that foliage off. You can add line to line. This can really work, right? I'm in California, so we use this to find water. Wait till I have a Red Bull before I do this. Actually, I don't know if you remember, some of you were here last year and I was in a cast and I was on Vicodin. Man, that stuff is good. It's like, this is that really cool dianthus, very long shelf life. And then I'm going to use some orange gerbera. We grow a lot of gerbera in California. Take the little cups off. If you don't take these off before it goes to the consumer, I'm not kidding you. This is sitting in their living room like this. And I go, okay, if you buy a goldfish and put it in an aquarium, do you leave it in the plastic bag that you buy it in? Right? So I take these off, and if there's a petal missing, so be it, right? It's kind of funny, but okay, so we have the gerberas, right? Liatris, a little bit of this. I'm doing the same thing, and Els did this. So it's not in foam, this is just some twigs that you can put in a cool vase. This is a little too big. The most important thing about bouquet production is that once you hold your hand in this spot, don't move it down or don't move it up, right? You stay in the binding point of where you're making the bouquet. So you just hold that together. And since this is a contemporary bouquet, I'm going to group the materials. Grouping meaning putting them together. Grouping is a fun thing to do, and some bouquet companies do it. Keep in mind that you need a lot of flowers. So if you use a hydrangea on one end, you would need like 5 gerbera. Well, that adds up really fast, right? So you need to think about this in advance. A little bit of lemon leaf in between, just to give it some bulk. A little bit of that myrtle. And notice that all the foliage below my hand is stripped. and you can have a lot of stuff in your hand and it doesn't matter. So that's really important. Now, I have to admit, this is not for the average consumer. They can't do this, but it gives them an idea. And if floral designers do have a department where they can do some work, this is quick. I love working in floral foam, but floral foam takes experience and it takes time. And most merchandisers just don't have time. They're busy keeping track of shrink and saying hi to babies, and so there's that. Els made this a little bit earlier with some other materials. So, but the grouping really works. When in doubt, you group, right? It's really, all my friends are in the back making fun of me. Oh, man. T-D-D-D. You're just waiting for that free book, aren't you? No, I'm kidding. So, a little bit of mass foliage. This is so easy to literally cut and plop and drop, kind of like what we did earlier. And just go all the way around. Oh, let me use the sunflower on this end. I mean, sunflowers have such an impact, you know, it just pops. And this one was cut at 11 o'clock. Oh, that lady was so funny. For those of you that missed it, it's going to come out of my next book. I mean, those are stories. You know, that's just hilarious. Sunflowers grow with the light. Can you cut them at noon? Okay, great. I mean, that's classic. I mean, that is just classic. So, anyway, in Holland, we call this cheating. Right here. So there's that. So now I need a little bit more line, right? So we'll just put a little bit more of that in there. Another material that is really making its way into the mass market is bear grass. You know, I mean, it's just so cool, and your cat will love you forever. So now binding it, commercially, of course, we have tape machines. But if you do a real hand-tied bouquet, Al showed you this earlier. You just hold your finger on the wire, and you have to watch because there's a lot of twigs, and you just go in the same spot all the time, right? Oh, and then you have to just hope that it doesn't break in front of people. Twice. Thanks for coming. So you just go around, and then the easiest thing to do is to just actually pull it through the bouquet. And if you pull it all the way up, it keeps the bouquet together. And then you just cut this. But I wanted to do this, I am doing this just to kind of show you the difference between line mass and filler. So this is something that could go in a vase. There. So this could go in a vase and actually be linear and a little bit more contemporary rather than a round mound. So this is a totally different approach with some curly willow and other things. So instead of making an arrangement, right, in the old days, I'm going to just make this it's a muffin, right? It's my move over Martha arrangement. It's just a lot of stuff. And it's very simple. You take really big sunflowers. Now it's about proportion, right? So if you start with very little things and baby's breath, it's going to take you a long time. Besides that, it's not the right product blend. Product blend is what goes with what. Or I always tell my students, it's hard to put ketchup on sushi. And they go, ah, that's funny. But you have to have the right stuff to go with the right stuff, right? To me, in the floral industry, that's the hardest part to do, is what to put together and what to leave out. That is constantly what we're fighting. And so when you work with customers who start designing their own bouquet line, and you have to say yes because they have a check, and sometimes they're fantastic bouquets, I'm not, you know, but you have to really look at what it does to the overall approach of what you're doing, right? So, a little bit more of that buplurum. This anybody can do at home. They just have to not be afraid. This thing is scary. They just have to not be afraid to cut things short. And you know what I love about short flowers? If you sell a program with really short bouquets, you'll have a lot less freight to worry about. You know, I mean, we sell sunflowers 36 inches high, and then I see the customer on the other end, and it goes in a vase this long, and they're complaining about freight. It's like, no, buy short stuff for short arrangements. I mean, it really helps this a lot. So that's really important. And then, this stuff is heavy. This is, we have some ladies in our bouquet department, and there's a bouquet with 3 of those. I mean, look at the stems, and they have very little hands. It's not funny. So I'm just cutting this in advance. Let it hang over the edge, let it hang over the edge. When in doubt, work in triangles. I mean, if you ever have to train other people, just stick to triangles, and they get it. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. By the time you're done, you don't see the triangles, but that's the philosophy behind it. It makes total sense. And, oh, we'll put this in there. Some solidaster. Now, solidaster or solidago, depending on what you've got, retailers love the long laterals in the old floral days, you know, because you could pick this apart and make an arrangement. I love all the laterals to be on top because in bouquet work, you need the body on the top. So I'm just going to cut this really short and lay it in there. Now, keep in mind, you're sitting lower, right? And I'm standing up higher. So your proportion is that the container is too big for the flowers. But in America, we put things on coffee tables, cocktail tables. So this is really designed to look at, down, either at or down. You know, it's really important where it's going to be placed. So, do that. And I'm just going to fill in. Now, this is an interesting thing. We all take this for granted. But you know, most consumers, when they arrange, they start in the middle, and they're really frustrated that it doesn't stay, right? They put a flower in the middle, and they go, it's not standing. What you do is, I always tell them, start on the outside, and you work your way in, because it's a grid. And it works out so easily, and very little material. 1 insertion, 2 insertion, 3 insertion, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. We're minimal, right? To me, that's important because that's where the money is. So, isn't this cool? I can see that guy in Topeka, Kansas, going on a date. Hi, honey, let's go for dinner. Wrong. Or maybe not, I don't know. Actually, I've been in Topeka, Kansas. Yes, it would work. They just don't talk about it. So, very simple. These puppies drink a lot of water. If you have sunflowers in a store in your department and they don't water them enough, the next day the bucket will fall over because the water goes up. The water that was down is now up, and there's nothing in the bottom to hold them together. So it is mind-boggling how much these puppies drink. So I made it really short, but this is I hope you agree with me that this is that look that you see in so many magazines, and it's pleasant, and it fits in a lot of different places. And if I had some millet or some grass, I would put some grasses in it. I just love grass. There. Somebody's going to say, I can't believe the guy talking about that. Okay, so you get the idea that when you look at this from up above, you have a very pleasant looking arrangement that gives you that French country look. No foliage. I didn't use any foliage because I don't have any up here, but nobody knows, right? It's just the product blend. So there is that one. That's pretty huge. The other thing that I want to share with you is the other foliages. Foliages are so important in the business. And we have a lot of cool foliages in California. Here is a foliage that I use a lot because it has great shelf life. It's called acacia. It's really, really cool. That has that French gray color. This goes really well with eucalyptus because it gives you that gray look in a bouquet. So it's a very unusual look. These are all very hardy, extremely hardy. So it came out of the bunch like this. All I'm going to do is just add some California grown Elstro, a little bit of myrtle. Now when you clean this, there's two ways to clean this. You can take all the laterals off and throw them on the floor, or you can hold the greens like so and strip the leaves off. There's a big difference here, right? I know people, wax flower, this kind of material, they take all the bottom laterals off. So you have a really heavy piece of greenery, and most of it is on the floor because they want this to be clean. So you tell people to hold them here, strip this. Now you have all the side branches, just the foliage is gone. These are minor little things, but they make a big difference in the bouquet. So you get the product blend there. It's a really cool combination. The last of the California kangaroo paw, but pretty much out of season. We have a lot of seasonal stuff in California. Here's a little bit of that dill. So it doesn't matter what the price point is. You know, there's so many people that go, it has to fit $4.95, it has to fit $5.95. It's the look, and then you can just add, right? I can make this $3.95, $4.95, $5.95. Wouldn't that be nice? There's that. There's that. So we're getting into spiral. And the spiraling is what makes the bouquet so valuable. It really gives it that value, right? And notice the triangle. I always work in triangles. It really is goof-proof. And there's not a lot of stems in here. For people that are used to buying offshore, 20 stems, 24 stems. I always tell people, you know, it depends what's on the other side of the stem. So look at this in a bouquet. That's going to look really, really cool. It just changes the look. I mean, people love that look. Not everybody. Archie Bunkert isn't crazy about it, but it works. Here's a little bit of wild eucalyptus. I wouldn't put leather leaf around this. I love leather leaf. That's not the point. It's the wrong thing for the wrong thing. So here's a little bit of that eucalyptus, and that gives it that wild look, right? It's a totally different approach to bouquets. So I think the most important segment of what I talked about today, since I'm almost over my time limit here, is we have to do a better job on educating consumers on color. You know, I mean, some people like bright colors, but this is a pretty cool bouquet for fall, regardless of what part of the world you're at. Here's a little bit of millet. I usually start in the middle with it, but since I just found it, I'm just going to weave it through. I don't believe in weaving through because in production it takes way too much time. A little bit of straw flower. Believe it or not, we have to take all the foliage off. Most companies don't do that, but we have to take the foliage off because the foliage turns black in the refrigerator, so we have to take it off. Other than that, this lasts for a month. Straw flower is a fantastic flower to work with, and it just gives it that textural approach, right? So there is that, and then you can drop it, cut it, bind it. Very, very simple. If you have really big stems, I usually use pruners of some sort, or the cutter, the big cutter, go from there. And then, especially if there are roses and gerberas in there, after I cut this, right? In other words, woody stems, you can do this, that's not a problem. But then I just go in there with that knife and just cut the stems real quick so that they have a fresh cut. There's not a floral designer in Holland that doesn't cut the stems before they plop it. So it's a really cool look. It's very balanced. It's different for people that like different. Do you like the look? So this is a great look. Notice that the circumference of the bouquet, when you use branch materials, the circumference of the bouquet becomes larger. And to me, that's the value added that the consumer is looking for, right? With very few flowers. We have a lot of this look in our booth at Dos Gringos with the faux stone. So There's that part. And stop by Dos Gringos and say hi, and otherwise I'll see you in the bar tonight. Thank you.